there.
Hello and welcome, guys, to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. It is just me and Brant this week. Honestly, we're all kind of under the weather, though, so we're doing it for you guys. We missed it last week, or else we probably would have canceled this week, but we were like, let's do it. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so I hope you guys appreciate this show extra more.
Absolutely, yeah. I know you just got back in town, Kat, and I know you're feeling it, yeah. And yeah, like you said, I'm actually got a stomach thing going on, so we're all there. And Mike is out of town this week, so hopefully he'll be back next week. And we do have an announcement for next week later in the show, so stay tuned for that.
That's another reason we went live too. We have some fun stuff coming up, and a lot of cool news to talk about. But just fair warning, it might not be the longest show tonight. But yes, let's get into the books this week. So Brant, I'm going to pass it on to you. There is a lot of books to talk about, a lot of big books to talk about.
Yeah. And just to remind everybody, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't read your books from last week, just know that we might spoil some stuff. So the first book we're going to talk about is one of the bigger books that came out this week, which was Dark Crisis #1, the new event from DC Comics. And Kat, I'm really curious because you're not an event person, and you were hesitant about this one too going in. So I'm curious what you thought of this issue.
I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was like middle ground for me. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is the best thing I ever read. But it was like, okay, kind of set the pieces to where it's going. I liked what they did with John, where we get to see him kind of heading this new Justice League. I thought was very interesting. I thought the art was pretty solid. And I like that this event felt connected. I feel like that's a big problem that both Marvel and DC have been failing at, is their books feeling connected. And I like that there was actually things that happened here. It was like, oh, that happened in Teen Titans, that happened in Batman, and mostly because Joshua Williamson's writing so much. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't like, oh, again, top 5 material for me, but I'll read the next one. I liked it more than Flashpoint, in my opinion. Like, the art's not as good, but I like the story more than Flashpoint.
Yeah, Flashpoint's kind of dragging a little bit. I guess is that one of our books? It probably is.
It is,
yeah. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, with this one, I kind of felt the same way. It felt like a typical Justice League story is the way I felt about it. It wasn't like my fear about it is that it doesn't have that big event feel for me yet. And even though I like the formation of the team and everything, it feels like, while yes, they had a memorial, it doesn't feel like anybody's dealing with the fact that all of their mentors and parents are dead. It's just like, Let's go on with life and let's just have fun and join a new team. And they're just very nonchalant about it. And even though John's had time to deal with the fact that his father is gone because he had that whole future thing where he supposedly never sees him again and all that stuff, it just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like he's ever coped with that. Right. So like even in his book and stuff, it's just like business as usual and there's no emotion there. So I'm not connected to their reactions to this yet. So it's taken the feeling out of it for me.
I liked, I don't remember if it was the last issue with the Justice League. I think it was the Justice League book. It wasn't this one, where Nightwing kind of explains why he had hope. I thought was interesting. I think it was last week's issue. So that made it feel a little better, where it's like, hey, we live in this superhero world where no one dies. So let's have some hope. And I think that helped a little. But I agree. I want, one of the big problem with these events, and I think my biggest problem with Dark Crisis is that, nothing feels like there's any weight. That's a big problem with Marvel and DC right now. Nothing has weight anymore.
That's it. It's like, I know in comics, we know everybody's going to eventually come back. That's just,
it's never been this bad.
Right. So you still have to feel like that fear that, oh, well, maybe this is the time, and I don't feel that here. So that's, like you said, there's no weight, there's no consequences that I feel coming from this. And again, it's tapping into the whole multiverse thing, which we've dealt with over and over and over again over the past several years. And I'm just kind of numb to it. Yeah. So unfortunately, it wasn't like, I agree. It's not in my top 5, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed aspects of it. I will keep reading it. And I'm curious about what the team actually ends up being. Because, they made a little joke about it in this issue. So we'll see what happens with that.
We do have a couple of comments before we jump into
Okay.
the next thing. So Mike, of course, says hi. Thanks, Mike, for stopping by.
What's
I know
up,
you're on
Mike?
your vacation, so that's nice. Um, and then also, I actually did watch episode 1 because this is just a show I'm very, very excited for. Miss Marvel. Yeah, did you get to watch it? I'm
I
guessing you did.
didn't. I did not actually.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was between that and something else, and we only had time to watch one show this entire
Mhm.
weekend,
Oh
and we
god.
watched the other show. So
Damn. No, I had to watch Miss Marvel. I was away last week and I was like, I had a little moment of time and I was like, okay, right before I went on the plane, I watched Miss Marvel because I was like, I have to watch this. I didn't
yeah,
want to be spoiled either because I
right,
was able to not be on the internet all week because I was, I was on a vacation. So I was
right.
like, the next time I go on the internet and like start doing my work again, I'm going to be spoiled. So, which honestly, I will say the pilot
No,
doesn't have any spoilers. Yeah, there's
okay,
no spoilers to be told. Yeah, there's not a lot, but like if you read the comics and stuff, it's just pretty much an adaptation of
yeah,
the comics. So, and I really liked it. I really, really loved it. As a Miss Marvel fan, I think you're gonna really like it. I think the cinematography is really good. I love Kamala. Zoe has a little scene in there. I think she'll be a little bigger as the show goes on, but she has a little scene. Bruno is a big part of it. Mike says he really loved Miss Marvel as well. I will
nice.
say Bill watched Miss Marvel before I did, and he didn't give me his opinion because he didn't want to like tarnish mine. But he said he
Right.
didn't like it as much. He said he'll
Okay.
continue, but he thought it was a little Disney. He thought it was very Disney Channel with the jokes, and I was like, no, I look there. I won't say every comedic joke landed. I do think they are trying to target not kids, but they're definitely trying to target high schoolers. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying like, every adult's going to enjoy it, or understand all the jokes, but I think the charm is there. And I think anyone who's liked comics will relate to it. It very much plays a part of like, she loves fantasy, and that's like a big
Yeah.
part of the story.
So yeah, this is one of the shows that Lisa and I have certain shows we watch together. We don't watch without each other. So this is one of those that I had to wait on. She actually told me it was okay, but I wanted to wait.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's a good show for both of you guys, I think.
yeah, yeah. So what I did watch on my own finally was the first episode of Naomi, and man, I regret watching that.
Oh
It was
man.
so bad. It was so bad.
I thought
I
the
didn't.
trailer was worse than the pilot. I thought the pilot was okay. It didn't give me enough to watch episode 1, but I was like, oh, I can see like why people like it, but it wasn't completely my thing.
Yeah, and it diverted so much from the comic version as well. Obviously, it had to in certain ways, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it at all, unfortunately. So, but yeah, let's move on to our next big book, and that is Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor #1, which I really enjoyed this book, and I hope you
Me
did too.
too. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah,
I
okay,
loved it. I thought
yeah,
what's great is because Torin wrote all of it, so it was
yeah,
really good that the writer who has written everything else is like, let's actually connect the stories and make sense of
right,
like, I think a lot of these stories with Miss Marvel, Silk, recently have this been these one-off stories where like, why do I need
hmm
this? And this is like, oh, she needs to be Thor, and actually connected to everything that she's been doing, and it made it
yeah.
feel like, oh, I actually need to read this. Then like, oh, here's a throwaway story. And my only nitpick was the art. I think the artwork could have been stronger just because we've gotten so much great art from Jane and Jane Foster in general, but such a good book.
Yeah, it was definitely a softer style than we had been getting with Jane, so I totally get that. But it wasn't bad art at all. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed, like, we recently saw her like have that, I don't know what you call it, like confliction with the hammer and like desiring that, and then they played into that in this where she actually has the opportunity to pick it up and she resists, and I love that. I love that moment. Those little notes on her character, and it just showed how strong of a character she is, and just this was just so good. It was so well written. The way Sif was handled as well, where she's like seeing everything and they described it, and it didn't feel like you were being like read a bunch of
Exposition.
exposition,
Yeah.
right? So it was a beautiful book. I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see where this story goes. And talk about that big event feel, even though this is just it's not an event. This feels like that. This is what I want from Dark Crisis or any event, really, is that big epic feel, like something means something here. So.
And it feels like a saga. And also, it never erases her as Valkyrie. It very much is about her being both Valkyrie and Thor. And I agree. It just feels like a continuation of a character story. And I think it's been a while since we've gotten that, where it's just like a lot of time. And again, it goes back to the Miss Marvels. It goes back to these books where it's like everything feels so slice of life and too new reader friendly, where it's like, well, what's the story? Why am I reading this? You know, what's the character arc? And a lot of times there isn't one, and this feels like a character arc. It's a good book. I don't know if it's a jumping on point, but maybe it is.
I mean, if you have any cursory knowledge of Asgard and all of that, I think you could probably catch up. But yeah, if you've read any of Jane Foster's books, you would absolutely have a leg up. I agree.
Yeah. We do have a couple more questions, mostly movie related and TV show related. I saw Young Justice one. I answer Young Justice questions every single episode. I'm not going to answer it again. The other one is Top Gun. Have you guys seen it? I'm seeing it for Father's Day. I'm going to see it with my family. So I'm really excited because I've heard good stuff about it.
We're doing game night. So no movies.
Okay. No movies this time.
I will say, if you do want Kat to answer Young Justice, you could drop a super chat. We will definitely answer.
There you go. I like that. I like the way you think. Yeah, if you want you want all my Young Justice thoughts, please, a super chat. I will definitely do it for. Any opinions on The Boys season 3? I have to watch all The Boys. It's on my binge list. It just hasn't happened yet.
I have only watched the first episode of season 3 so far. I've watched the first 2 seasons. I like. It's a weird direction to take it from. I never read the series, so I'm going into this cold, but I enjoyed the first 2 seasons, even though they are a little gorier than my taste. But so far, season 3 is a solid start. I'm curious to see where it goes with the new direction.
I've only heard beautiful things about that show, so I'm sure season 3 will be good. The other question: did you guys see Jurassic World Domination?
Not yet.
No, I'm not going to. My friends who I have my AMC stubs with wanted to go see it. They actually did go see it. And I'm like, no, you go without me. I don't want to see it. And then they went to go see it today. And Phil was like, I hated it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I imagine. It's getting horrible reviews.
Okay. Well, we love the franchise, so we'll probably see it eventually. I don't know if we'll see it in the theaters or not. So we've missed a lot. We didn't just time, man. It's just it's hard to find time to do that stuff.
We do have a comment about Miss Marvel. I'm just going to read the comment because we already gave our thoughts about Miss Marvel. But their only main criticism is that Nakia is being sidelined in terms of screen time and Zoe's bullying being real toned down. I think the reason they're toning it down is because like she's going to have a bigger role and probably be friends with these characters. I feel like in issue 1 of Miss Marvel with G. Willow Wilson's run, I don't think she knew the arc that she was going to play out with Zoe. So she was like mean and like a lot of mean stuff she said. So this time they know where they're going with it. And I just don't think they want to make her redeemable. So I think that's why they try to like lessen the meanness a little bit.
Yeah. I totally get that. So, man, a lot of questions about TV. We can't answer all of these. Just know that we watch some stuff. We don't watch other stuff. So
yes, exactly. Well, let's get into the, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I never mind. It's fine.
No, say it.
It's not really. It was about an Umbrella Academy. Somebody asked.
Hey, it's all right. Yeah. It's the Axic. The floor is yours.
I've seen the previous seasons. Yeah, I'm excited for the next one. So.
And then we do have a Stranger Things season 4 question, and only because Mike answered it. I have the last episode still to watch, but I've watched it pretty much.
I haven't watched any season 4 yet. We wanted to binge it, so we got to find the time to do it. Yeah.
All right, back to comics.
Yeah, next book, Mighty Morphin, number 20. We're leading up to the ties into one of our news stories, issue 100 of Power Rangers. So,
yes, we are.
This was, this was. I mean, it was a decent issue. I think this was a better issue than the last couple in this particular series. I get them confused all the time, but Power Rangers is the space one, right? And Mighty Morphin is the Earth-based one, yeah. So, it was mostly a battle issue, but I like the culmination and kind of promising that everybody's coming back together after that and kind of highlighting Rocky a little bit and showing his worth. I like that instance.
Yeah, no, I thought the character work was better here. Yeah. I still hate. I don't want to use the word hate, but it's not My thing is the art. The art is really not my thing.
Hmm.
I did not like it, but I do like the story, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But I do think
Yeah.
the space story has been better.
Yeah. Which is weird because the last arc it was the other way around.
Oh
So
yeah, but Ryan was writing both of them, so now it's a new
yeah,
writer.
yeah. So hopefully once they all come back together, it'll be a stronger story. So we'll see what
The
happens with that.
cliffhanger shows that they're going to be connected because it was the
Yeah.
death of Jason's mom. So
Right. Yeah. Very very sad. Hopefully it's not just a down issue though. So we'll see
yeah,
what happens. All right, so that brings us into our number 5 picks, which I will be honest, I'm still in the middle of ranking mine. I haven't really picked my number 5 yet, so I'll let you
then
go
why don't we
first.
go back? Yeah, we'll go back. My number 5 was Poison Ivy, so it's our main topic, so we could talk about it. I thought I was gonna like this a lot more. You know, speaking of G. Willow Wilson, I really love her writing, and I love Miss Marvel. I like this. I like obviously the big topic is Poison Ivy going to die. That was like a big cliffhanger of this issue. But I don't love the idea of like her still skeeting around of am I a villain, am I not a villain? And you had to read the Batman backup to understand this as well, which I don't recommend for an issue 1. It was
Yeah,
very not new reader friendly, which again for people like us, it's fine. We could jump in, but for people who maybe like the Harley Quinn show and see a Poison Ivy issue 1, they'll be completely lost. So I just thought it was okay. I also thought the interiors would have been a little stronger because these covers were so gorgeous.
mm, yeah.
And I know it's my number 5. I didn't hate it, I promise. But I just expected more. I still liked it. I still want her at issue 2, but it was just okay for me.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I kind of agree. I did enjoy the story. I enjoy the love letter, or not really love letter, but goodbye letter to Harley, presumably, and the flashback on their moments, and kind of her reasoning behind this, losing that part of herself. But yeah, I agree with you. If I hadn't read that backup story, even knowing everything I know, it would have been like, well, where the heck did this come from? She's just like, okay, now she's off on this mission to kill herself or whatever, and everybody else with her. But still, it was interesting, and like the cliffhanger of like the rotted person moving, so something's happening with that, so they're not as decomposed or dead as she thinks, and there's going to be repercussions of this whole thing. So interesting story, and I'm on board, but I totally get your nitpicks with it. Looks like we
Yeah,
do
for
have a
sure.
super chat.
We do. It's not about Young Justice though. It's Supreme Omega. Thank you so much for the super chat, $5. I don't know. I feel G Willow Wilson always knew what she wanted to do with Zoe even from the start. Because if you reread the first issue, she was always gay for Nakia. I could see that. I could definitely see. In my opinion, I think they like worked with it. Like I feel like it was something that she like kind of accidentally wrote and discovered as she was writing. At least because it was a while for her to like reveal that. That was a long time into the series. So I mean, but you never know. It's a question for the writer.
Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely possible. We know, when you're writing a story, sometimes the characters start writing themselves, and you just kind of have to follow that character in that arc, and maybe change your plans. So who knows? It could have been either way, but I could see that.
We do have a couple comments from Mike about Poison Ivy. I thought this was okay. I actually wish Harley was not in the book.
Mm,
Yeah, I feel like they didn't utilize her that much. So
yeah,
either do something with her or don't, you know? And then
I
he
get that.
continues, I had high expectations for this book because of the last Poison Ivy series.
Yeah, no, I get that too. I'm just I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of a wait and see at this point with that book, so we'll see how it
Yeah.
goes from here. I I'm still torn on my number 5, but I will just like throw this, not definitive, but I'll just throw in the
You could always
Fortnite
change
X.
your mind.
Yeah, the Fortnite X Marvel Zero War thing, because I like Fortnite, I like Marvel. I don't think it was as strong as the Batman one, but it was still fun, and mixing those two worlds is fun for me. And they reference things that happen in the video game when the Marvel character showed up, and there's always a story that goes along with every season. So I enjoyed those aspects of it quite a bit. So there you go.
I
My
like
my
it.
my phone in number 5. Which those were actually the next two big books we were going to talk about. Funny enough, I did not
We're
even
speeding
realize
by.
that. Yeah, so Twig number 2 is our next big book. I'm the only one that read it here. Mike probably read it too. Maybe, I don't know if he dropped off or not after issue 1. This was fine. It was typical Scotty Young fashion. It's got a certain direction it's going towards in the beginning, and then it kind of veers off and throws you for a curveball, and then you don't really know what exactly the purpose of it is, but it's these weird fantastic worlds and all these quests. And by the end of this issue, we find out the person he's supposed to get his quest from is dead, and now he has to go to the moon. So it's one of those weird, bizarre Scotty Young books, but I enjoy it. The art is fun. It's nice little fantasy romp. I'll stick with it. So that brings us to our number 4s, and I do have my number 4 actually.
That's good. Only number 5 was hard.
Yeah, exactly. Which was Multiversity Teen Justice number 1.
Oh man, that was so low for me. So I'm excited
really?
to hear your thoughts. Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It was just fun Teen Titans style book with basically gender swaps all across the board, which I thought was a fun idea. You still get the like the Superboy, Robin stuff with the Supergirl and Robin, dynamic there. So you get a little touch of that. You get humorous Flash character. All your stereotypical Teen Titan characters were here, and it was just fun team stuff. There wasn't much to the plot in this issue because they just discovered what their actual villain was towards the end of the story. But you get your entrance character with the pink haired girl that came in that is staying at the Church of Blood, and so that'll tie in, and she interacts with the Teen Titans. So obviously there's redeemable qualities there. I don't know exactly who that character's eventually going to be, but I enjoyed it. I thought the art was solid too. So what didn't you like about it? Yeah,
I thought there was too many characters. Like I know that you had the center character, which was trying to string you along. I didn't like her, so I was like, you just got to bored me. So I feel like there was no like planting your foot. It kind of felt like, in some ways, a not new reader friendly book, even though they were new characters. I just felt like I was kind of being thrown into something before kind of learning everything, and just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I think they were counting on, hey, versions of these characters, so here's a story with them, that kind of things. But yeah, no, I get that. I will admit that like probably my top 2 are the strongest books, and everything else was kind of mid-ground for me, so it was really hard for me to pick those last few. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I liked my top 3 a lot.
Yeah, so what was your number 4?
First, I'm going to tell Mike's comment about Twig. I did read Twig, The Adventure Truly Begins. So it looks like Mike enjoyed it, and he still needs to read the Justice League teen book. All right, my number 4 was Thor, issue 26. I thought this was the strongest of the Banner War. Or you disagree? Yeah. It's one of those days. But I like the action. I thought the action was pretty. I thought the action was a bit stronger and better paced than the previous issues. I'm not saying this is the best issue ever, and I still probably will only get that one extra issue of Hulk a try and then drop it after this event. It's one more Hulk, and then I'm done. But I just had a fun time with this. I liked Thor's dad in his head, and the action for me was just solid.
I just don't enjoy the story at all.
Which is understandable.
Thing. Yeah, and it was like, at first I had a bunch of books still left to read a couple of days ago, and I was looking at them, I was like, oh, well, Thor's a big book, and then I remembered that it was the Banner War thing, and I was like, oh, I'll just read this one real quick then. And,
it's not as strong as what Thor usually is.
That's my problem. I think it's the comparison that what we were getting to what we are getting is just like I'm not feeling it at all. So yeah, it was quite low for me. Actually, the lowest book this week, I think.
Yeah, there you go. Which is funny because again, that reverse, because yours was Young Justice, and that was my lowest. But whatever it's called. It's so funny. That was my lowest book, and then my number 4 was your lowest book.
It's all
Mike
subjective.
says this one was the weakest issue for me, Kat. No real plot progression. See, I don't think there's ever been plot progression for this book. So like, if the action's good, then I'm okay with it.
I'll say this one was better than the last Hulk issue. Yeah. For me, so. But that's not saying much.
No, no. And definitely not rave reviews for this one. Action was
Right.
okay. I will say the artwork is not as good as the actual two main books. Like
Yeah.
the lines are very light and the colors are very light as well.
Yeah. All right. So moving into our next big book is Amazing Spider-Man #3. How are you feeling about this run so far?
Kind of done. It's so weird because there's elements I really enjoy. I like the groundedness of it. I like that it goes back to basics. There's some little elements I enjoy, like the Paul story. I was like, okay, he's not a bad guy. He even like kind of feels bad for Peter. But then it's just I don't like the art. It just feels like nothing new either. It doesn't feel revolutionary. It just feels like it's there.
Yeah. It Parts of it suffer from the same problem Nick Spencer's run did for me, which is, hey, we've got this whole old rogues list, villains for Spider-Man. Let's tap into those and not touch those, like Green Goblin and Doctor Octopus and stuff. Let's go back to like Tombstone and stuff like that. Which I like the respect to the history, but at the same time, a lot of those stories weren't interesting to me, and this one is not really doing it for me either. I do like the back to basics, but I still hate that 3 issues in we have no even like a touch of an explanation as to what the heck happened and where'd Paul come from and all that stuff. And I'm just I'm
I'm
right
tired of
there
being
with
strung along. I'm tired of
yeah
not having a story. Like, just give
yeah
me something. If this was after stories of like, oh, look at this big reveal and look at
right
this a big like, beginning, middle, and end of a story, that I wouldn't feel as bad. So I'm like, oh, okay, they're doing the long haul. But this
yeah
has been 3 runs of the longest haul I've ever
yeah
seen, and I'm just so tired. There's just like no real story. There's no end. There's always just a beginning and middle, and then they're like, eh.
Yeah, exactly. And also just with this one, we're thrown into it with no hints at what's to come. Like there's nothing. Like you guys joked about like issue 2, what happened with Mary Jane and then she wasn't in the issue. And it's like, yeah, and we're still not getting any of that. And, we get Paul here, but it's just, I don't know. I need a little more. So,
Yeah. So Mike has a different opinion. He
okay.
loved this issue, and then I think he had
Wow.
more thoughts about it as well. He said,
Yeah.
I felt Peter's pain in this issue, how desperate he was. I agree on the decompressed storytelling.
Yeah.
This would have been a fun show for all three of us because it seems like we
Yeah.
all disagree on the books this week.
Right. It's one of those weeks, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that he's having a hard time with it, but we don't know what he's having a hard time with. It's the
And we've
problem. It's
seen it
like,
before. It's
yeah,
like this is not new territory for Peter.
yeah. So, and we know he didn't get killed at the end of this issue, right?
No.
So. Anyway, moving on. DC Pride. I did not get a chance to read any of this, unfortunately. I had 2 books left before
It
I
was a
came on,
long
and that
one.
was one of them. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really long. I was going to try to read a couple of the stories, and I just did not have time. So, what did you think about it?
Before I jump into that, Mike says, I
Yeah,
think after 900 things will move
and I
forward.
agree.
So long,
Hopefully,
so long from now. So
yeah.
long. It's not around the corner. But yeah, DC Pride, I really liked. I actually thought they improved from even the first issue. I think they did
Nice.
a good job at showing all different types of sexualities. I thought the writing was really good. Honestly, all the stories pretty much entertained me. Yeah, artwork was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I think if you enjoy anthologies, pick it up. If you don't, then you probably don't have to pick it up because there's like you have to enjoy that format. But
Yeah.
I like these type of anthologies more where there's a theme. Like when I just see like Harley being a superhero, it's so boring because I'm like, it's
Yeah.
just Harley being a superhero or anti-hero. With this, at least it's like, okay, there's a core theme for what they
Right.
can do. I
Yeah.
like these a lot more. So I enjoyed this. I thought it was much more cohesive than a lot of the anthologies we get.
I think that's one of the reasons anthologies are so popular on Kickstarter is because
Mhm.
most of them
And why they
are
work.
around a central theme. Yeah, exactly. So that's good. I flipped through it and I thought the art looked really nice, and there were a handful of stories I really wanted to read. Like I said, I didn't have time, but I will. I definitely will check it out.
You can tell that they like put a lot of effort into it. I'm not saying like I'm sure
Yeah.
they put a lot of effort into these other books, but when I like read
Right.
Joker, let's say, I'm like, oh, kind of felt like they just put this together fast, you know? Like, oh, we
Yeah.
need an anthology issue. Like, let's get Mark Waid to do a story. Let's do this, and let's just like kind of put stuff together. This one kind of
Yeah.
felt like it had a little bit more heart to it because it wasn't any big names. It was just like, let's tell these really interesting stories about these characters that are queer,
Right.
and I just thought it was better rounded.
Yeah. That's good. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. All right. So now we're up to our number 3. Mine's a book we already talked about, which was Poison Ivy. So what was yours?
Mine was Dark Knights of Steel, issue 7. This
Nice.
one doesn't move the plot that much, which is why it's a little lower, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed what we got. The action was really good. Yeah, and I enjoyed the Ma Pa Ken stuff. They were like part of the army, was interesting. I just enjoyed kind of the character interactions most of all. It really is a point A to point B issue. There's not much to say about it, but
I mean, there was the reveal with Jacob. He's alive,
Yeah.
and that was interesting, and kind of points to the subterfuge and lies and deception and war.
I don't think
and-
Supergirl really killed anybody. I really do think
Right.
it was like Martian Manhunter. I truly
Yeah.
believe like that's what's going on now.
It's definitely Martians because he keeps seeing green people,
Mm.
Bruce, in this issue, and I think that's what he was dreaming of. I think it is Green Martians led by Martian Manhunter, which is interesting. It's a different direction to go. I love that the Kents basically are raising the Teen Titans, which
Yeah,
was
that
really
was
cool. Race B and Etrigan is just like perfect. There's elements of this book that I just still love. I agree it didn't move the plot along, but those little things that we got in this issue, and Bruce, coming into his own and stepping up as Batman, basically with his Robins now, and now we have 3 kingdoms at war instead of just the 2. So it's going to be interesting going forward at this point now. So I'm excited to see what comes next with that.
They're definitely building a mythology. Also, there's a Robin within the Amazons, which it wasn't
Yeah.
Stephanie. I thought it was Steph because it's like, oh, that's the only one we saw. So it looks
Yeah.
like it's going to be Cassandra probably.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially with the ties to the Titans too. So, oh no, is it which is it? Oh, it's Bats. I'm thinking Cassie.
Yeah.
Cassandra.
So,
okay, gotcha.
Cassandra Cain.
Too many familiar names.
There was too many Cassies in the DC universe
Yeah.
for sure. Especially like young heroes. There's Cassie Sandsmark, but then you have Cassandra, and then you have
Right.
Sissy from the Young Justice. There's
Yeah.
just a lot of those type of characters. We do have a question from Supreme Omega. This is about Miss Marvel, MCU. I wonder if the reason why they toned down Zoe's meanness is that the show doesn't have time to fully adapt Zoe's comic arc,
That's
which
possible.
took 4 years to tell. Yeah, no, it's 6 episodes. I think they want to reveal that she's gay. So like I think they want to like get to that point probably by the end of the season.
Right. Yeah. They don't have, 22 episodes to tell the story. So yeah.
No.
That makes sense. All right. So our next big book, we actually already talked about both of them,
All
Thor
those.
and Multiversity. So we can move right into our number 2s, which mine actually was Dark Knights of Steel. So we just talked about that. So.
And mine was Jane Foster. I already talked about it.
Nice. So moving right along, Flashpoint Beyond, which we kind of mentioned earlier in the issue. I mean, in the episode.
I just don't care about it.
You don't care about it
Because I'm like so done with Flashpoint. This is so many
Hmm.
years ago. I just don't care anymore.
I'm enjoying it, and I enjoyed the tease of Dr. Manhattan coming back into this.
How many times are you gonna tease this boy?
I know.
Like we've seen the tease of that. We read all of that Doomsday Clock, which amounted to nothing. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm so tired of being teased.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I love the Flashpoint world, and I'm curious to see why it's back too. And like, it's interesting to me that Thomas is going around like none of it matters when it's not that future or that reality didn't happen. It still exists in the multiverse. So it's him being nonchalant about this is obviously going to have some big repercussions, or it's just going to amount to nothing again and just disappear. And so we'll see. But I'm enjoying it. I think I'm enjoying it a little bit more than you. But I agree, it's not as strong as I'd hoped it would be. But I do want to see if Dr. Manhattan actually does come back, and if they do just tease him, I'm never going to believe it again. So,
Oh, yeah, until the next time. The
Yeah.
Doomsday Clock 2. They're like, all right, let's get it. Yeah, no,
Right.
I think I'm dropping that one. Unless it's like
Mm,
this week, I just kind of got it because I thought I wasn't getting that many books, and then I ended up getting enough books. So I was like, oh,
yeah.
all right, whatever, I'll read it. And then it all depends. If I have like 5 books, I'll read it again. If I don't,
Right.
bye. I don't want it.
Gotcha. No, I get that. All right. So our last big book is Savage Avengers #2. Speaking of books done with, I am done with this one.
I didn't like the first issue. I
Hmm.
wasn't a fan.
I didn't love the first issue, but it was enough to intrigue me for the second. But yeah, this I'm just not connecting to it at all, and it's the kind of exposition that I'm personally not drawn to. It's the explain everything to you as you're looking at it, and it feels very old school to me. It's just not my style of reading, so yeah, it's just not my thing. So unfortunately, I'm dropping that one.
We have a couple more comments here. So Mike says Flashpoint is awesome. So again, all different spheres of the Flashpoint thoughts. Love Penguin teaching the kid how to use guns and
I did
bombs.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the better part. And then this is Tevia's question. Do you believe Flashpoint and Dark Crisis will mean anything? I thought you were gonna ask if they were gonna connect.
Uh, that would
I'm
be
going to answer that question. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Will they mean something? Look, Discovery just bought DC. I don't think it's going to
yeah.
mean anything. They're going to be making more changes, so no.
Yeah. Flashpoint, I don't think will mean anything until somebody picks up that thread later on and decides, hey, I'll pick this from that and do something with it. But as far as impacting the overall multiverse, probably not. Dark Crisis, they always try to make crises mean something,
They
but
never do.
so far this one doesn't feel like it will. It feels like it's going to go back to status quo by the end.
Yeah, I think they're just using the name. Parker Luckax, are you guys DC Comics fans or Marvel comic fans? We are all more Marvel comic fans, but obviously we like both companies a lot.
Yeah,
Obviously,
absolutely.
we review all different companies, but I think if you put a gun to our head and we had to pick one, we would all say Marvel.
Yeah, all three of us are more Marvel leaning. I think Mike started with the New 52. I started a couple of years before the New 52, really, little here and there before that. But yeah, Marvel's my jam.
Yeah, and I've always read DC, but
Yeah,
never a lot of DC comics. Like I'd mostly
right.
get like books I like Supergirl or Teen Titans or Batman. Honestly, I would hardly pick up Justice League like back in the day. So it'd always
Yeah,
be depending on like the theme, like who the family more than
yeah.
the whole company. Marvel, I would like kind of pick up more books from.
It was Teen Titans and Green Lantern stuff for me, especially the Blackest Night era of Green Lantern stuff was like where I really got into DC, and like before that, like the Rand Thanagar War and stuff like that I was into. But
yeah, I would say Blackest Night was kind of where I like actually started reading it more weekly. Like I would have like Robin or something, but I would get back issues more. When Blackest Night started, that was when I was like kind of picking up more DC comics.
Same. All right, so that brings us to our number one. So I'm really curious what your number one is, Kat.
Mine was actually DC Pride.
I thought
mostly
so.
just because it surprised me. I really like Jane Foster, and they're probably neck and neck. But because of the art, it went a little down. And then because DC Pride, it had such a hard hurdle to make an anthology interesting. I was like, okay. Like Jane Foster, I knew what I was gonna like. Pride, I was a little worried about. Because I remember even the first one, I thought was just okay. I was a little disappointed with the first one, and I thought they upped their game with this one.
Yeah, I just thought so because you hadn't mentioned it yet in your top 5, and you really loved it when we talked about it. So simple deduction there. But mine is actually
it was a good deduction. You're a detective.
Yeah, mine is actually Jane Foster. So
nice. So we both really enjoyed Jane. I hope Mike read Jane Foster. I think you'd like it, especially if you've been liking Thor. It connects with Thor a lot. Yeah,
it really does. She finds out. Well, I don't want to spoil it if he hasn't read it, but the Odin stuff makes a play here. So
I really like that scene. That was really good.
Yeah, so I really think you'd like it, Mike, if you have not read it. So let's move into some of that comic news. And actually, before we do that, I do have a Kickstarter going on.
Yeah, talk about it. Also, just before the Kickstarter, Mike said Spider-Man was his favorite.
Nice. Okay. completely disagree with you, but that's really
Yeah,
cool.
this would have been a definitely agree to disagree type episode. But
Absolutely,
it happens more rarely these days because I think
it does.
we've been doing this for so long. We're just like, we kind of have very similar thoughts when it comes to comics, but sometimes they stray.
Yeah.
Mike has not read Jane Foster
Okay.
yet. Well, when you do, you have to let us know what you think.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so I do have this Kickstarter going on right now. It's called Curious or We're All Mad Here, #1. It is a return to Wonderland featuring Alice's son, Alec, who is brought back in the midst of a brewing civil war. And we don't know who's behind it. So their job is to find out who's behind it and stop them. So if you like Alice in Wonderland, fantasy stories, anything like that, you will enjoy this. I'll scroll down. There's our beautiful main cover by the series artist, Marco DeFillo. And there's
It's
some of
very
the
Dan
character
Mora
design.
feel.
Yeah. And there's some of the interior art colored by Kieran Quigley, who does a lot of work for Boom. Just a little touch of the art there, and I'll try to get down to the covers. Yeah, there's that main cover again. We got a cover by Kyle Roberts, and Gab Contreras did the coloring on that one. This is by Robin Richardson. Nice Mad Hatter cover. And there's our project image by Nito Diaz, Tiago Gomez, and colorist Moria Hollowell. So all-star Marvel and Marvel team there. And this is by, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name, but you can see it right there. Ksenia is her first name. Has done some work for Disney and Star Wars Celebration. So yeah, go check this out. We are live for another, I don't know, 3 weeks almost, 20 days. Yeah. So go check it out. Curiousercomic.com will take you there. Just search for Curiouser on Kickstarter, and we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. I was on a cruise, so I couldn't back it right away. And I felt so bad.
That's
I was like, right when I got off, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back it up.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Thanks,
Mike says, good luck. Looks phenomenal. He's going to some comic book stores as he visits.
Always
his
fun.
Vacation. There's another. This is about your Kickstarter. So that girl looks super cool. Who is she?
Well, one of them was Mad Hatter. One of them was the Knave. So we've done a little bit of a gender swap with this version of Wonderland.
Nice. Awesome. I think we are getting into the news this week. So let's jump into that. Let's see what I want to talk about first. Let's do comic news this week first. Right. There's a JSA miniseries coming out, and it has to do with like the Black Adam movie. It's not really I don't know if it's going to really be a JSA comic book, with the comics. And I think that's such a shame. When I saw that, I was like, oh, cool, JSA. Like, why are you not doing books that people want to see?
Yeah, it's the way this article reads anyway. It's like a promotion for the movie.
Yeah.
Which means it's going to tie into those versions of those characters instead of the comic version. I assume. So, yeah, I would like to see just like an actual Justice Society book. I wanted to read The Ward this week. That was one of the books I didn't have time to read because it's by the writer that's doing this and another book in our news. So I wanted to compare and be like, okay, well, if I enjoyed this, I might enjoy that, but I didn't get a chance to read it. So
it looked like an interesting book. If I had more time this week, it would have been on my pull list. But because I had limited time to read this week, you can't read everything. So
yeah, I have it right here. So
oh wow, there you go. So you have it. You have it in your hand.
Yep,
You're gonna read it at some point. All right. Well, let's get into the next thing, which is Dreamer is getting a graphic novel. She had a story in Pride, I believe. I don't remember if she did or not. It's been a while. But anyways, I know she had a promotion in Pride, but they're doing a graphic novel. I think she had a story. Anyways, so they're doing a graphic novel, and I think that's cool. It's from the actress who plays her on Supergirl.
Right.
And it's cool that she's writing more comics and getting the word out there and then expanding the universe more.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think I read some kind of Dreamer story somewhere. Maybe it was in the previous Pride you're talking, or Maybe it was something that I don't
I don't
remember.
remember. I
It
know
was
there was
somewhere.
supposed to be a Dreamer story, and I feel like I didn't read it, so maybe it wasn't
Yeah,
there.
that's why I didn't mark this one because it was like, did
Yeah.
I read that? I know that I know there was talk about it. Maybe.
I don't
But,
remember. Yeah, I don't remember where it was, but I don't think I read it. But who's Dreamer? She's a character from Supergirl. That's it.
yeah,
She's from the TV show. I don't know what else to say about her besides
it
that.
her character kind of ties into a character
JSA.
in
Oh,
the
I'm
Legion of
sorry, Legion of
Superheroes.
Superheroes.
Legion of Superheroes. Yeah. So
She was in the previous Pride comic. There we go. So I'm like, I
yeah,
know I didn't
that's
read
what I
her in
was
this one.
thinking. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, because I knew I saw an ad in this one, but okay.
Yeah.
Let's go into the next thing, which is Patton Oswalt makes create her own book, which is cool. This is like,
Yeah.
big actor who loves comics. We know that for a fact. Like, he genuinely loves comics, and it's cool that he's making his own create her own book, because we see so many actors that do it, and it's just like they're doing it because they want to make a movie, and this is a great way to
Yeah.
make a movie because it's the IP, the intellectual property. It's a better way to pitch it to
Mhm.
Hollywood. So that's why they have their names attached, because they want to make the movie. But like, he actually wants to make a comic, which is cool.
Yeah, and I love him as an actor, and I love that he's a geek just like us, and he knows his stuff. He loves comics, so that's really cool. And the concept for this sounded pretty neat too. I think it's coming from Dark Horse. It's called Minor Threat, and it was like a ragtag of like sidekick villains decide to get together and kill the big villain because he's causing all kinds of chaos in their world. Before the heroes can take it out on them. So I thought that was an interesting, unique concept. So
Yeah. Do we know which publisher, or is
I
it going to
think
be a
it's Dark
Kickstarter?
Horse.
Dark
He
Horse.
tagged
Okay.
Dark Horse in the tweet, so I assume it's Dark Horse.
Okay. Speaking of, Dark Horse gets the Ghostbusters license. Dark Horse was a big work for hire company a little while ago. So they're back.
Yeah, it's so interesting. When IDW, when we got that news that they were starting to lose all these licenses, it was like, it was like, I wonder where this is going to go, and that's going to go, and then it happened so fast. And it's like, okay, this person's got Transformers, they got G.I. Joe, now Ghostbusters, and it's crazy. But this, the version they're doing ties into the movies instead of like, comic lore. So it's, that's cool. I really like the Afterlife, so that's neat that they're tying into that.
Yeah,
And it's going to be
more
canon.
accessible.
Yeah.
Ah, cool. Yeah, I think that a lot of Ghostbusters fans will enjoy that for sure.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Titans miniseries coming up, but it's very much in the vein of that other Titans miniseries. That it's more about the HBO Max show, and I didn't really like that, so I'm not going to pick this up.
Yeah, this is also written by that same writer who's doing the JSA.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
and the Ward. So that's I really wanted to read the Ward, so I'd have something to talk about here. But yeah, I didn't. It was Titans United, I think, is what it was called, the previous one. Yeah. I did not like that. I dropped it after the second issue, I think. So I'm not really excited about this one either, sadly.
So moving on to Miss Marvel and Red Dagger get a digital comic, and it goes back to my story of nothing seems like they're actually progressing a story for Miss Marvel. It's just because Red Dagger shows up in the show, and I'm like, yeah. I don't. And then also it's just a digital comic too. We don't even know if it's gonna be physical, so yeah. I'm disappointed with that. Miss Marvel has so much story to tell, and they're just not trying to tell it.
Yeah, more so than that, this is like the first part of like this love series where they're just like focusing on different couples. So that's what this whole thing is. And it's interesting, but being digital and being just one-off stories, it's probably going to drop completely off my radar, sadly. So
all right, let's go on to, unless they do like a Wiccan and Hulking thing, because they're releasing that physically, then I'd probably like pick it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Moving on to Ryan Parrott leaving Power Rangers. Very sad. But Ryan has done so much Power Rangers, and he's done such a good job with the franchise. Got Brant into Power Rangers. That is a testament in its all. And I'm curious to see who's going to take over. I'm very interested to see where this franchise is going to go after.
Yeah, me too. And if I'm as invested.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to say it's Ryan Parrott's writing that really sold me on the Power Rangers universe, because I've talked about it on the show. I'm not going to go into whole lot of detail about my history with Power Rangers, but I didn't love the franchise before I started reading his work in it, and he just changed my mind completely on everything in that world. So I'm curious to see if the new creative team can keep that for me. So
Yeah, I haven't loved this newer writer
right,
for maybe because it's the art too. So we'll
it,
see how the other
it's a little of
characters
both.
goes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just not quite as strong. I'm not quite as invested,
yeah,
but we'll
no, I
see.
agree. So the last news is that Superman's returning to Earth. To die? Question mark. Who knows? But I have not been reading the Superman Action Comics, but I've been hearing really good things. I feel like this is a good jumping on point. I'll probably like pick it up from now, from
Yeah,
that story.
yeah, I haven't been reading it either. So I've heard the same thing though, that it's a really strong story. So I just didn't want to jump in the middle of it. So this will be a jumping on point for me too. But it's like, I assume this takes place after Dark Crisis. I don't know
Who knows, right?
where it falls in. So,
The big
we'll
problem
see.
with Dark Crisis is that where it's like,
Exactly.
why was Superman still around there? Why is he dead in this Dark Crisis book? Um, all right, so moving on to some media news. I actually did not see the Black Adam trailer yet. I was a bad girl. I haven't seen it.
You mean I saw a trailer and you didn't? This is
You
like,
did.
mark the date, people. This never happens. I'm always the
It's
one that
June
doesn't watch them.
14th, 2022. The next time it
Exactly.
happens is June 15th, 2023.
So I really enjoyed this trailer. Honestly, we got our first look at the JSA in full here, and they looked really cool. We Adam Smasher, I think is his name. He's like giant and stomping through the cities and stuff. And Hawkman looked really neat. And the vibe of the movie is what I clung to in this trailer because it reminded me of Thor, where it's very serious. Black Adam's a very serious character, but because it's The Rock too, you get those little notes of comedy just here and there. Like he's beside a truck of civilians and they're like, what the heck is going on? And he just like taps on their window. And it's nothing really, but it was funny. And, it's just one of those things. And it reminded me of that first Thor movie. So it got me more excited about it. And it just looked really good. I'm really happy for this one so far. So we'll see if it holds true once I actually see the movie.
We will see for sure, especially with DC. So
Yeah.
Primo Omega asks about Miss Marvel. Thoughts on Kamala's other lesbian bestie Viv finally dating a girl in a one-shot comic? I didn't even know that happened. So Marvel really hit that one. I don't know which book it was.
I don't know either.
All right. So next is Sandman details. You wanted to discuss Sandman.
Yeah, so I've never read any Sandman, but the trailer looked cool, and it actually looked like something Lisa might like. So I'm going to recommend it to her, and I'll probably watch it with her, at least the first episode, and see if I dig it. But yeah, there was a lot of imagery that looked like it was taken straight from some of the covers I've seen and stuff, and I think the actor looks visually like he's been portrayed in the comics and stuff, so it looked really cool. And it's coming soon, so I think August 5th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
August. Okay. Moving on to Harley returning this summer. I'm just excited. I love Harley Quinn. Every single time me and Phil watched Young Justice, we kept just saying, man, I wish Harley Quinn was back. So, yeah, I like
Nice.
Harley Quinn more than Young Justice. If you didn't do the super chat, that's my answer about Young Justice. But moving on to the other wild good news piece this week. The Joker has a sequel, as we know, is going to be a musical, and guess who's playing Harley Quinn? Lady Gaga. And I was like, whoa, that's the funniest joke Joker has ever told. That was wild. I have no words. I saw House of Gucci and hated House of Gucci. I really hope that Lady Gaga puts in that performance and that meta acting that she did for House of Gucci and just puts in Harley Quinn. That way she can utilize it,
I have not seen the first Joker, so this is like, okay. Sure.
The first one did not follow up to say, oh, there was going to be a musical next.
They're doing some weird stuff with this franchise, yeah. I don't know. That's an odd direction to take it, but y'all go for it.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
I can't
Not
say that I
like
will.
happily. Oh man, I'm excited. I hope this is as good as Morbius. I haven't even seen Morbius. I can't even say if that's as bad as people are saying. I'm sure it
Right.
is. I don't like the idea of Gaga playing Quinn, but she's still a good actor. Yeah, nothing against the Lady G. We love Lady G. I just don't like her in House of Gucci. I didn't think it was a good movie. And I think this is a weird choice.
I mean, they is it's like a joke. It's like the producers are like, she had that really cool song, Bad Romance. Bad Romance. Joker and Harley have a bad romance. Let's put Lady Gaga in the movie.
Honestly, I think that's all I can think of. I think that's
Yeah.
I love to be a fly on the wall for this one. Like,
Right.
how did this go through? I don't know. Maybe it'll be the best movie we ever saw, but I didn't like Joker once. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Or the best movie I never saw.
Oh, exactly. Best movie you never saw is probably what's gonna be. But that's all the news. So we're gonna go to the most anticipated for the week, and then we do actually have a book we want to talk about. So I'm gonna pass the microphone to Brant on this one. I know I'm getting the book. I'm sure Brant's gonna get it. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, so the best Archie comic ever, I assume, is what you're talking about.
It is.
Which we had Ruben on a few weeks ago talking about this book, and now it's finally here. It comes out tomorrow, so I'm definitely going to check it out. It looked really cool. Some different takes on Archie, some cool creative teams, all-star cast in there. So go check that out, pick it up, even if you're not an Archie fan. If you want something a little different, try the best Archie comic ever because it's the best Archie comic ever.
I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So let's get into those most anticipated, though. So our lists are completely different almost this time. So
for once. Yeah, for once.
Yeah.
Although two of the books you listed, I'm excited for. One, I didn't like the first issue. So
Gotcha. All right. So let's start with yours then. What are your three?
So my number 3 is Radiant Black, just because it's Radiant Black. I'm very much enjoying the series. I think this arc's a little slower than the previous, but also think about the first arc. It took it to like issue 4 or so to really ramp up. So I'm not too worried about that. And then Power Rangers, because like we're just talking about like the death of Jason's mom. This still Ryan Parrott writing. So very excited to see where that one's gonna go. And then DC Pride Tim Drake. It's mostly a reprint, but there is like almost I think a 22-page story or so that has Stephanie finding out, or at least them talking about the whole bisexual thing. So
okay. Yeah. I thought it was all reprint, and I was really confused why I made your list. I was like,
oh yeah, no, there's a reason. There's a reason. Okay. You get the collection, but also you get Stephanie Brown stories. Okay. So I was happy for that.
Yeah, I did not realize that. So that okay, I might have to get that now just for that story. Yeah, all right. So mine are Do a Powerbomb #1, which
that looks interesting.
Yeah, and Mike will be happy because I think it's the team from that book that he liked that I didn't read. I don't remember what it was called, but
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, same creator.
Yeah, but it's got a wrestling theme too. I'm going to try it at least. So. And it's a cool name. And then 8 Billion Genies #2, which I'm assuming you didn't like the first issue.
Didn't love the first. I didn't hate it. It just was like, like I don't really know where this is gonna go, and not a positive way. I didn't think there was like a hook for me. I get the plot. I thought the plot was interesting. I think it was too many characters introduced at once where you didn't know who the main character was. So I was didn't really attach me. And also I didn't love the art.
Yeah, I get that too, and I assume the bartender's maybe the main character, but I'm not sure either. Yeah, I want to know like if there's more to this than just hey these genies show up and you get a wish, and I'm still curious why somebody didn't wish for 1,000 more wishes or something, but that's what I would have done immediately. Like okay, I wish for like infinite wishes or something like that. But yeah, I'm curious about it. But anyway, my #1 is Radiant Black. This is, I don't know. This reminds me so much of Invincible. It's not the same type of story as Invincible, but I have that anticipation for this book like I did Invincible. So
yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
So those are most anticipated. Yeah.
Those are the most anticipated. We kept it short, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. So let's go to down line of Yeah, next
Yeah.
week. So, Brent, you do all the stuff you wanted to talk about and also next week's show.
Yeah, so real quick about next week's show, we are going to have a guest on with us next week who is an old friend of mine. I'm hopefully I'll say his name right. I've gotten it right once. DJ Keavakani. It's Hawaiian, so I don't pronounce it properly all the time, so I apologize that. But DJ is going to be on the show. He's got a Kickstarter. His first ever Kickstarter actually is live right now. It's called Exilian, the Creed of Nighthawk, I believe is the title. But he'll be here to talk all about that book, which is successfully funded. So congrats on that, DJ, and we look forward to chatting with you next week. So tune in for that. So for me, yeah, hopefully I'll get a new episode of my wrestling podcast, the Allcast, up this week. I did not get one up last week. We'll see what happens with that. It's really busy here. We're in the middle of fulfillment on a couple of campaigns, and I already talked about my Kickstarter. So that's basically what I have going on here. So what about you, Kat?
Yeah, so I have a Kickstarter coming up June 21st for Buy Visibility Volume 2, still buy, and we're super excited about it. It's more than double size, the story. So yeah, well, we're very, very excited. So if you enjoy DC Pride, maybe you could give Buy Visibility a shot. And they're all not just like superhero stories either. So there are some superhero stories, but you got vampires, you got reality TV, you got slice of life, romance. You got it all on this one. And then also cool news was announced today that I am part of the Kickstarter Community Advisor Council. So I'll be working
really cool.
officially with Kickstarter. Thank you. To make Kickstarter even better. So very excited about this. I'm just so stoked. I'm very happy to work with that team. I love the people that work there. I'm excited to meet new creators. It's not just like comic creators. So that's cool too.
Right.
So I'll get to, see the fashion creators or board game creators and just learn a lot about different sides of Kickstarter. So yeah, I'm very happy to be a part of it. And I had to keep a tight lid on this for a little while. So it's nice that I get to talk about it. Other than that, I hope I have a review tomorrow. We'll see how I feel. Yeah, that's it for me. We'll be back next week and hopefully with the full crew.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get those banners up.
Yeah.
You do the drill, Rant.
Yeah, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything and hit that bell so you absolutely get all the notifications of all the content here, either on Comic Book 2.0 or Comic Book Weekly, where you can watch the entire history of the show. Check us out on social media at Comic Frontline across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. And don't forget to give us a like because it does help a lot.
Yes. All right. And this is the waiting part, and we'll see you guys next week.